So title your notes. We're doing 8.4. Okay, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. It sounds really crazy. It's not too bad. We're multiplying and dividing fractions today. Okay, but the fractions include variables and polynomials. That's what differentiates it from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2. Or actually, 8th grade math. You've done this before, Douglas.
Oh, I didn't do it on KMS.
Okay, so multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So first of all, we're going to start with simplifying. So a property right there. If we have AC divided by BC, you can get A over B. What happens to the C when you have one at the top and one on the bottom? Cancel. So that would just be an example of a variable. If you had an x on the top and an x on the bottom, they would just cancel out. Okay, those would cancel. You're left with A over B. So how would I simplify something as simple as that? Take out a 5. Right, so then we get 3 over what? 3 over 13, right, so we took out a 5. I'm going to write this in the way that we have this property here so I can show you guys what it looks like or how that property actually works. So, if you're taking out a 5, you know that the top is going to be 3 times 5 if we wrote it as factors. And the bottom is going to be 13 times 5 because we have 13 and 5 as factors for the bottom. What happens to the 5? Cancels out, right? So that's really what you're doing when you're simplifying fractions. You're using this property to simplify fractions here. Okay, so you would have 3 over 13. So that's simple with numbers. Let's see if we have some with variables. So with rational expressions, I want you guys to write these steps down. The big red box. You can abbreviate it if you want to. So the key word here is factor. We're going to be factoring again. Okay, second key word is factor completely. That means factor everything as much as you can. Okay, you guys wrote in your notes one time, I had a big slide here. Factor completely means factor everything out as much as you can. You guys wrote that down before. I made you write it down. So that's what factor completely is. Okay, and then you're going to divide out the factors of common binomial expressions. So remember, a binomial is just something like this. That's a binomial. 2 terms. Okay, bi, 2 terms. Bicycle, 2 wheels. Okay, first problem. Simplify something like that. Write it down. Don't start on it right away. What'd you say? No. And that's what I was going to say right away. Okay, when you guys write this down, the first thing that you're going to be thinking is, well, I got an x squared up here in the top, and I got an x squared in the bottom, so maybe I can just cancel those things out, and I'm left with a 7x. No. Why? Because you can split it, okay, but because of that plus up here, okay, you can't just cancel out the x squared because of the plus. So this is where you have to factor completely, factor everything completely. All right, so how would I factor the stuff on the top? What can I take out? X. Just an x. You can't take out an x squared, you can take out an x. So if I wrote this out, x.
Over each one, like separate.
Well, you could do it that way too, like you split it between the two.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it that way though.
I don't want to.
because this is the way we're going to be doing everything else. So I factor everything as much as I can. You can't do anything with the bottom because it's just an x squared. Now we can use that property that we had before. Okay, so if I have an x out front, that means I can cancel with one of the ones on the bottom. Okay? So if I wrote it out as factors, make it look like the stuff on the last slide. So I have x plus 7 as a binomial times x on top. On the bottom, I have x times x. I'm just splitting this up as many factors as I can. You don't have to do that. I'm just showing you why it would do what it does. What's going to cancel? Just one of the x's, right? Those are going to cancel right there. So what's your final answer? X plus 7 over x, right. Really, if we could just look right here at this piece, and we could get our answer from there. Because you guys have done exponents before. Say, okay, what's my bigger power of x? It's on the bottom. So I move this one down, and I subtract from that x squared. Okay, but this is how we're using the property. This one right here. That's how you're actually using that property. Okay? Try that one. Let me move it up. See if you can factor that. Factor it, then we'll see if we can figure out what cancels. Factor it, you guys write it out as the two binomials. This is our pattern. This is the one I said you guys use a lot.
The last one. That's 5 plus 3.
What? Write it down. You're talking out loud. Write it down. Yep. How about that? Catch you outside.
I actually learned
Hey.
something.
Does x plus 3 cancel out?
That's not how you factor that bottom one. You're kind of close. If you break the x squared into an x and an x, because that's what 2 to 3. 3, right? 3 and 3. Okay, you guys should kind of see everything start to look similar and cancel. Go away. What's the top factor too?
X minus 5, x plus parentheses, x plus 3, parentheses.
Okay, good. That's factored completely on the top. What's the bottom factor too? Caleb, what's the bottom factor too? Did you get it?
Yeah.
What's factor two? I'm asking you. Can you help me, please?
This
All right.
actually is 3.
What canceled out? X plus 3 canceled out, and you're left with your two binomials there. So you get x minus 5 over x plus, oops, not plus, minus. X minus 3. Not too bad, right? Yes. No, you
Why
can't.
does it say x plus 5?
Right
Yeah, why is
here,
x plus 5?
Yeah.
you're asking if you can cancel out an
It
x.
says x. Why does it say x? So it's minus 5.
1 minute, I'll get your question in a second. No, you can't. You can't take out an x, because that's what you would think up here, that you could just cancel out the x squared. If that were the case, then I could have canceled an x squared up here and just be left with a 7x. Can't do that because of the plus and the minus. You can't split up a binomial on the bottom. Okay, remember I've been saying you can't break up your denominator, or you can't break up the denominator. Yes?
The numerator should be x minus 5.
Yeah, what is
Ah,
No, it should be.
that's what she was asking about.
Yeah, you're asking.
My bad. Thanks, Douglas. Sorry if I confused some of you guys with that.
Thanks.
Should be x minus 5 over x minus
Just
3.
what I needed.
Okay, you can't break out an x, you can't, because otherwise, if that were the case, then you could do x over x and negative 5 over negative 3, but you can't do that. Because you can't break it apart like that. Okay? Okay, so that's just simplifying. Next one we're doing is multiplying. So multiplying rational expressions. Okay, and this right here, rational expressions, I didn't say it right away. That's a big word to say, fractions. That's what rational expressions is, pretty much. It's just fractions. Okay? So multiplying these things, multiplying the rational expressions, the same as multiplying fractions, except we have polynomials. Okay, so your first example, okay, not too shabby. We did this stuff in 7th grade, maybe 6th grade. See if you can review on how to do that. Multiply those two fractions without a calculator. Because the calculator is not going to help you to simplify the stuff that we're doing right now. Without a calculator, Goy, cheating.
Oh, good answer.
I don't want the answer from you anymore. What's the first thing you do or you look for when you're multiplying fractions? Cross simplifying. That's the first thing you want to look for.
No, that's not 12. It's 3, 6 now.
Okay, first thing you're going to look for is cross simplifying or cross canceling. Oh, put it away. Don't use it. Are you checking your answer?
Yeah.
So you look diagonal first. Okay, there's 24 and 6 simplify down. Yeah, 6 goes into 24, so 6 goes into 24 4 times, okay? And that would be a 1. You take a 6 out of both of those, just like we did before. But the other way, 27 and 9. 9 goes into 27 3 times. So what's your final answer going to be? 12, because once you cross simplify, you go straight across, right? So it's going to be 4 times 3, which is 12. Now we're going to do something like that. And we've actually done these before. We did these in chapter 3. I think it was chapter 3 when we did polynomials. Okay, write it down. Don't start it yet. We'll talk through it. Okay, and I showed some of you guys how to do this when we did it before. So, same thing first. Look for cross canceling. So, between the 8 and the 4, can I cross cancel? Yep, Caleb. That turns into a 1, that turns into a 2. Do I have an X to cross cancel? No. Do I have a Y to cross cancel? Yeah. Y goes away. So you just got a 1 down here on the bottom. Okay, now let's look the opposite direction. So 2 and 7, can you cross cancel? No. 7th prime, so it's 2. Do I have an X to cross cancel? Yes. I got 1 down here and 4 of them here, so I'm going to take 1 away from them when I cross cancel. Okay, does that make sense how that works?
Yeah.
You just got 1 of them here. If you got 3 or 4 of them up there, that means you can cancel out 1 of them from both. Okay, just like here, you have an 8 and a 4, so you got a 4 down there. Really, you got a 4 times a 2 up here, so you cancel out your 4 and you're left with a 2. We got Y's to cancel. What'd you say? Yeah, you do the same thing with Y. We got 2 of them down here, those cancel out with 2 of them up there, so you got Y to the first power left up there. Now we just go from left to right. Okay? So if we got 2x cubed, so it's 2x to the 6y over, or wait a minute, not 2, it's 14. I missed my 7. No, all right. That'll be 14, x to the 6y over 2. What's the last thing you can do? I can simplify one more time. What's 14 divided by 2? 7. x to the 6 y. That would be the last answer. It's not that bad, no.
Until we make it later.
I'm missing some work on here. It's not too bad. So that would just be cross-canceling or cross-simplifying with something like that that's crunched all together. We didn't have to do any factoring, yeah.
Why would you multiply?
Because you're multiplying the bases, right? You only multiply exponents when it's power to power. There's no power to power, so it's just x cubed times x cubed gives you x to the 6th, right? I know there's so many different things going on right now, like with exponents, we're going to multiply exponents, subtract exponents, what are we going to do? That's why this part of the Algebra 2 gets harder, because there's so many different properties all thrown in a few chapters, okay? All right, try
Oh, boy.
to factor these out. So write these two out and factor them as much as you can, because this is going to be more like what we're going to be seeing. And there's a little trick that we're going to have to do with this one. Okay, go ahead and factor everything as much as you can. So one tip I have for you guys, if you're used to writing out the entire problem and then doing the work, I would probably stop doing that and maybe write out everything factored when you're doing your works. Otherwise, you're going to take an extra 2 minutes per problem writing out the actual problem. I don't know if I would do that with every single one of these. Take out more than that, so I should take out the 3. Right, and then that would change those to 1s. But if you take an x from there, square with that. Well, you took the 3x from the 3x, so it should just turn to 1. Should be 1 minus x. Well, not quite. Can't do that yet. I'm going to show you. I just want you to factor it first. Don't start canceling stuff out yet. Coincidentally got the correct answer with the incorrect one. Factor everything. How do you factor all those? You just started canceling pieces. You can't do that. Because there's a pluses and minuses. You can't break those up. You can't cancel stuff out with a plus or minus. Unless it's the same exact thing. You can start doing it too. You can't just cancel pieces.
So should I read it backwards?
Yes, you should write it the right way. Okay, so looking at this, the first thing you should do that you wrote down before, and that is up above, factor completely. Okay? Some of you guys wrote them out and started canceling stuff off. You can't do that. You have to factor first. So when I factor, you want to take out what on this top one? 3x. You take out a 3x on the top. Okay, and that leaves me with a 1 minus x. Because you take a 3x from there, that gives you a 1. You take it a 3x from there, you get an x. On the bottom, factors to x plus 5, x minus 1. That's just normal factoring there, okay? Reverse FOIL stuff. Then over here, I got x plus 5, x minus 4, and then I have a 3x down there. Mm-hmm. Now, what do we do when we multiply fractions? What's the first thing to do? Cross simplify. So we have a 3x here. Okay, 3x here cancels with the 3x here. And then we have no 1 minus x over here. In order to cancel these out, some of you guys might think, okay, 1 minus x, I can cancel out with x minus 1. They're not the same thing. Okay? Here, that x plus 5 is the same as that one. So if I rewrote it, again, I got 1 minus x, because I'm putting stuff together now, crunching it together, I got x minus 4, and I have x minus 1. Okay, on the bottom. Not done, okay, because I can factor out another number to make something else cancel. What can I factor out of here to make the x positive? A negative 1. Okay, if I factor out a negative 1 here, that turns it into x minus 1. Or it'd be a negative 1 plus x. But now, what's going to cancel? X minus 1, that's gone. So then you have negative x minus 4, and I would distribute that through there, so it's negative x plus 4. That's how you have to do those. Factor everything as much as you can and then start canceling. Okay? The hard thing to see is this little trick right here when you have that one and that one. They are kind of the same thing, but you can make them the same thing by factoring out a negative from one of them. I could have factored out the negative on the bottom if I wanted to, and it would turn it into a 1 minus x. But we don't like things that look like that because you usually want your variable to be positive. So you factor out a negative to make your variable positive on the top. Okay? Let's see if I got another one down there. Yeah, try the bottom one there. Okay? You don't have to write out the whole problem. I would write out the factored work. Okay, so try to factor it as much as you can. And that's SOAP method. That's your pattern. See if you can remember how to do that, because those are coming back. You getting this stuff going?
Not really. You know how to factor, right?
That's 90% of it. Factor, then start canceling things that look the same. That way,
Well, I'm not here.
I factor. You know how to factor? You know how to factor that one? You're going to have to learn how to factor, otherwise you're going to be in Algebra 2 again next fall. Two numbers that multiply to give you a 9 and add to give you a 3. Is there any possible way to do that? Okay, this one, you're going to have to factor that. What times itself 3 times gives you an x cubed? X times itself 3 times. What times itself 3 times gives you 27? 3, right. So you're going to have x minus 3 for your first part, for your a minus b. That pattern. Sorry. So remember on the x cubed minus 27, I'm not going to
Get a 9 and then also get a 3.
help you guys a whole lot on these ones. Okay? Ask yourself, what times itself 3 times gives you an x? X cubed. Well, 3 for that one, x for this one. So remember I wrote my a down below, so it's going to be x. I wrote my b down below. 3, same opposite, always positive. Okay, so it's x minus 3. Then I have a squared plus ab, so it's 3x plus b squared. So looking from here to here, what's going to cancel? That whole line is going to cancel. Okay, so if I factor this one out on the board here so you guys can see it, you got x minus 3 x squared plus 3x plus 9. That's the stuff on the bottom. That's usually how I'm going to do it, just kind of factor stuff below it. Looking from here, so this is my new fraction here. I got x plus 2 divided by x minus 3x squared, 3x 9. What's going to cancel? A whole thing, because this is like over 1, right? So I'm cross-canceling between here and here. So your last answer is just x plus 2 over x minus 3. So really, I would say 90% of this section is factoring. Okay, once you factor it correctly, you should see things cancel. Okay, I would say almost 100% of the time you're going to see something cancel. Okay, if you don't have anything that cancels, then you probably factored it wrong. Okay, last thing we got is division. Okay, so we simplified and we've multiplied fractions and now we're dividing fractions. Right, that's your trick to dividing fractions. Skip, flip, multiply. You guys learned that in middle school. I think that's what they tell you in middle school. That's what I tell kids in Algebra 1. You skip the first one, you flip the second one, and then you multiply. That's the first one. We'll do this one together, then I'll have you guys do one by yourself. Okay, so what's the first step? What'd you guys write down first? Skip, flip, multiply. So I'm going to rewrite it with the other one flipped around. And like I said before, you'd be better off, well, you can factor first if you want to and then flip it. You'd be better off writing some of your work rather than writing down the problem. Like, don't write down every single problem because you're going to spend 2 minutes writing down the problem, and then you're going to spend another 2 minutes flipping it around, and then you're going to spend another 2 minutes factoring it, so it's going to take a while. So I would write down your work first. Okay? So first thing you're going to do is just flip the second one. And change it to multiply. So we're going to have x squared minus 11x plus 30 over x squared minus 6x. Okay, skip, flip, multiply. That's what we're doing here. Then you factor. Okay, factor now. So, can you do anything with the 7x? No, what about the 2x minus 10? Can I factor something out? A 2, right, you could take out a 2. So I have 7x divided by 2, and I take that out, I get x minus 5. Okay, this one, two numbers that multiply to give me 30, and add to give me a negative 11. 5 and 6, right. So they're both negative, so it's x minus 5, x minus 6. On the bottom, what am I going to take out down there? Just an x. That's the only thing you can take out. That's your greatest common factor. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. Well, I guess I'll do it the same as the way I did it before. Okay, Gonzo. So between the 7x and the stuff on the bottom.
I didn't do like any of this. I didn't know how to do it. Yep.
7x, does that cancel with anything down here? The x would cancel, right, because you have an x there and an x there. Those are gone. All right, now looking the other way, what cancels? X minus 5, right, boom, boom. So now I'm going to rewrite it. I got 7 times x minus 6 over 2 times x minus 6. Okay, because my x minus 5 is gone, my x's are gone, so I got 7 and an x minus 6, 2 and an x minus 6. What's gone now? X minus 6, you're left with 7 over 2. Sometimes they could cancel down to something as simple as that. Okay? Other times, no. Yes. I'm going to, yeah. Yep. You guys want to try one more?
Yeah.
Or you want to see your homework?
One more. No.
One more.
I'll give you guys your homework and then I'll go back and we'll do one more. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, you guys want to start on it? There's your assignment. I'm going to go back a slide and we're going to try one more if you want to do it. But like I said again, factoring is 90% of the battle here with these. So if you don't remember how to factor, I would review, go on Khan Academy, look at some videos, come in during access, practice some problem. Email, questions. Goy, you emailed me a question last night. Did you get that? Did you look at it last night?
Yep.
Did you appreciate the work that I sent back to you?
Yep.
Did you kind of understand it?
But you forgot to email me back, so you took a while.
No, I got busy.
Oh, yeah.
But I got you an email back.
Yeah, I forgot. Copied it.
You just copied it.
Looked at it.
Did you understand what was going on?
Little. I'll find it.
Little.
No.
Okay, if you want to practice one more. You got it? Practicing one more. This is the one where we're going to have to use our little trick. Okay, one other thing you guys can do with these if you don't want to use that little trick of factoring out a negative, you put them all in descending order. So if I wrote this one, I'd rewrite this top one here as negative 5x squared plus 20x. And then it makes it a little easier to see it. You won't really have to use that trick because you're going to factor out a negative. Okay, I'll factor it all. You factor it first, see if you get it right.
No, you can't have negatives. Just go.
Oops, sorry, Victor.
I think this is going to be one of the better chapters.
Why, you remember this stuff?
Thanks, Joe.
Just don't get cancel happy. Sometimes that's the thing, you're like, oh man, that cancels, that cancels, that cancels, that cancels. Ooh, I got my answer too. And you just kind of start canceling everything off. One minute, Dustin, I want to go through this quick. On this one?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I thought you were asking me a question on homework. Take out a negative x. Well, if you put it the right way, change that to a negative. Because this only changes to that if you take out the negative.
Very
X plus 4, x minus 4. And then you're both x minus 4, x plus 4, you take out an x. Right, so now you can cancel. You can take out a 5 or 2. So that should be a negative 5 out. And then you change those numbers. Okay, if I were to factor this, you on this one still? You're on the homework? Alright, I'm going to factor this. I'm going to go through this quick. Take out a negative 5x on the top and you get x minus 4. On the bottom I get x and x minus 1. And this isn't division either, so don't flip it. This one's multiplication. Oops. Top over here factors to x plus 4, x minus 1. Bottom factors to x plus 4, x minus 4. Then you can start canceling stuff. Did you get that? Did you get them all? Or were you doing it? Oh, I see you. Yeah, make sure you pay attention to your sign in here. So that cancels, that cancels, that cancels, that cancels. And then if we put everything back together, we get negative 5x, x plus 4. So then that cancels, that cancels, that cancels, that cancels. And that's your answer. Beautimous. Let me stop this.